This stuff here in Yerushalmi Eruvin, the article Ozra Adashim, or on Daf Yudam Rav, the third line down, the beginning of the Gemara of Chol Sin, and that's the header in the Gemara of Chol Sin L'Chayim, and in the Vilna there's no header. It's on Teslan Bezer the Mishnah Tani Kol Davar. But in any event, it's the header references back to the Mishnah, so we should see the Mishnah again. B'chol sim l'chaim afilu davar sheish bo ruach chaim. The Tanakama is you can make a lechi. You have something which is live and meir osar meir asers it. Now we have a brisa which cross references Maseches Sukkah. Tani kol davar sheish bo ruach chaim. Anything which is live also dofen. You can make it as a wall for a dolphin. Vein also so lechi even though you can't make a lechi divrei meir. So meir holds on which you can make a lechi would hold you can make it for a dolphin for sukkah. Chachamim mean say ain't no sima so dofen. You can't make it a wall. For sukkah, we can make it a lechi, like they said in our Mishnah. Make it a lechi, but the flip side is can't make it a dolphin. So Rabbi Acha said, and here the Reb Chaim, the Art Scroll, other Achaim all switch around here from the couple lines hence, instead of saying Chatanu, Train Tanoim. They say two Tanoim. And even though the Brisa seems to hold that the converse is true by what's true by sukkah is not true by Erev, by Mavli, and vice versa. No. In fact, the two Tanoim, and each of them is consistent. And I'm not sure he's actually saying that this is the Pshat in the Brisa, or he's just saying that, no, don't, the Brisa is Shabeshta. It's not, in fact, to be understood this way. And rather, the way to understand it is, Manam Osim so dofen, if you can make it a wall, Osim so lechi. So, the Tanakama in our Mishnah, Bichacham in the Brisa, they'd say it's mutter for both. And man damar enosim dofen, when it holds you can't make it a wall, enosim lechi. You can't make it a lechi, and that would be of course Rabbi Meir. So therefore, no, don't learn the Brisa like you want to learn, like we had it. In fact, they are two Tanoim who oppose each other. Presumably Rabban Meir, and one who holds no, Meir holds no across the board. One who holds yes, Rabbanon, they hold yes across the board. Okay. Now, Rabbi Yosef said no. Chatanu, can't change it. Chatanu, meaning that it's correct what it says in the Brisa. The Brisa is correct, and it is one Tana holds the converse, and each one holds the converse. In other words, what's good by one is good bad by the other. What's bad by one is good by the other. Manam osin so dofen. Sorry, vilama osim oso dofen. According to the opinion which holds that it can't be a lechi, why can you make it a dofen? Shili shamet, and here again we have to change it. Take out the word eno. If the animal goes away, markish, you'll notice that it went away, so you can make a dofen out of it. Ve'enosim oso lechi, you can't make it a lechi. Because Shilu Yishamate, if it goes away, Eino. They put the word Eino instead of who. Eino Margish. Actually, before it says Shilu Yishamate, I guess who Margish. The Eino Simas Lechi, Shilu Yishamate, Eino Margish. Because a Lechi is just a small thing. You're not going to realize that it went away if it goes away. But that's a problem. Okay, fine. That's cool. That makes sense. But what about the flip side? That's what we have to deal with next. So we understand that the opinion which holds that you can't make it a Lechi, you can't make it a dolphin. Which presumably would be right Meir in our Mishnah. But what about the other opinion, which holds that you can't you can make it a lechi, but not a dolphin? So that's what it says. Come Rabbi Shua Derumya in Talmudei. Here it says Rabbi Acha, but the Karbaneda and the Chaim, they changed it to Rabbi Yosef. And he said, wait a minute. Okay, you explain one side. Armilo, they said so. Armilo, they said to the I'm not should be Armilo. Probably should be. We should change that also to Amrar Lahon because it's Rabbi Yeshua Derumia im Talmudi Ravacha. So anyway, so he said. Yeah, and it's interesting. It doesn't change the text itself, but it changes it in the commentary. Amar alone. Okay, I don't know why Biden didn't bother changing it in the text, but Amar said to him, "Among the Brasra, say what's next. The Pliga Rabchon, which seems to argue on your Rebbe. Dofen. He can't make it a wall. He can make it a lechi. How does that work? If by lechi, where if it moves away, it's a subtle thing because only certain is lechi, you're not going to feel, you're not going to notice it. At Omar Mutter, you say it's okay. Kan, by where it's making a dofen, she'ilu yishametu margish, that if it moves away, you're going to pay attention, you're going to notice it. Lo koshkein, should it not certainly be okay? So why would it not be okay for a dofen? So hey, come on, here, but we have to change the names a bit. I'm sorry, heavy train tanoim inun al de Rabbi Yosa. So it's got to be two tanoim, even according to Rabbi Yosa. It can't be that it makes no sense that because the svara doesn't work in the opposite direction. So if you have to say it's two tanoim, in other words, whoever's matir is matir both, whoever aser is both. That's what two tanoim here means, the code, and you can't say one tana holds that yes by one, no by the other, because it works by one direction. Logic dictates that one direction works that okay, it can be make by Dovin, by Machmir, by Lechi, but the other direction doesn't work. So therefore, you can't say it has to be two tanoim. One holds across the board okay, one holds across the board not okay. Hechma Temer Tamon Trey Tananinu Al Rabbi Acha, just like we said according to Rabbi Acha. The first opinion we had that it's two tanoim, meaning that the assumption that that we had in that we had before that in the Brisa. Also, so definitely also lechi. Very common. Also, definitely also lechi. That shabeshta and Rabbi Acha said it can't be that way. So this now also you have to agree with that as well. You Rabbi Yosa, your Rabbi Yosa, so you agree again, agree with that too. Again, hechma the tamer. I'm going to read inside again. Hechma tamer tamon treitun alib inun al the Rabbi Acha. Like he said before, can at Omar Hacha in at Omar Hacha train on inun al Rabbi Yosa. He has to concede that point. I guess after all said and done, we could have said that in this whole shakvataya, chatana is code for saying the Bryce is not shabeshta, and train on is code for saying the Bryce is shabeshta. Chatana means keep it intact, as it said. Train on is no, you gotta change around, and we have to change around because in the final analysis, either something which is Ruach Chaim works for both, or something which Ruach Chaim does not work for both. We can't say that as far as hafuchos, and that the machlokes is that one says yes here and no there, and the other says no here and yes there. Okay, now we got to another issue. Rabbi Shimon bar Kasim, Shem Rabbi Acha, and Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So actually, Shimon bar Kasim said in Rabbi Acha that Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Azariah, Shlosh Amru Davar Acha. They all said the same thing, that a wobbly wall doesn't work. A wall which is not stable is not a good wall. The Rabbi Meir, the L'chaim. Rabbi Meir is the one of the L'chaim. He says you can't use a mitzvah, you can't make a lech sheish b'Rchaim because it moves around. And the words here, Matay Mishum Golem Rabbi Meir Matayr, I bet you the article takes him out. L'chaim takes him out. It says they're not relevant here because that's beyond different discussion. Actually, doesn't. He says it is but it's not a gola because it wobbles, it moves around. Okay, he leaves in it. So the Rabbi Yossi the Olos, Rabbi Yossi the Olos, is Mesechus Olos, Mishnah ben Mesechus Olos. The Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Shebesfina Ein Maybe Satuma. A house in a boat doesn't bring the tuma. In other words, it doesn't. The tuma transcends the house. The house doesn't arrest it from going further. It doesn't spread it throughout the house because it's a moving house. Because it's on a boat. It's mechitza misnad nedes. Moving mechitza. It's not about mechitza. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, it's very cool. These three disparate sugyas which bring that together, and we link them all together the same shita. Elazar the tiny of Maisa Rabbi Elazar Azar Akiva Shu Boim B'Sfina. They're both coming on a boat. Vas Rabbi Akiva Sfina Brosh Sfina Sukkah Brosh Sfina. Rabbi Akiva made a sukkah at the on the head of the boat. Vas Ruach V'Yichasa, and a wind came and blew it down. Amar Rabbi Elazar Ben Azar Elazar Ben Azariah said, Akiva Heichon Sukkascha, where's your sukkah? So in other words, he was telling him a sukkah on a boat is not considered to be a valid sukkah. And the Korban explains, I feel low necro, if it's not uprooted, yesh basa the efsher te'akar, since it's possible it's going to be uprooted. Have the kil in a kvu avlav shmodira. So all these movable type walls, Meir's lechi of Ruach Chaim, Rabbi Yossi's house on a boat, and Rabbi Akiva's sukkah on a boat. All of them are not kavua, and they're not considered to be valid mechitzos. Okay, our Mishnah had gone on to say that Kosin love Gite Noshim, Rabbi Yossi agreed post Rabbi Yossi apostles a get written on an animal. My time at Rabbi Yossi agreed. That's probably ahead of the article. No, just two dots. My time is safer. Because it says Sefer Krisus, right? A book of divorce. My Sefer Miyuchad Shein Baruch Chaim, a Sefer saying which has no life force. I've called it Shein Baruch Chaim. So anything which is not life force, and so therefore, if it's alive, it's not no good. The inference is, I think, the way Korban explains very nicely. Because of the Sefer Krisus, Sefer Mashma Klaf. You see, Vaniko say about Sefer Bidyo. V'hadar Kailei Megillah. You'll see about Chash Surafas Megillah. So this is it's interesting bringing down this additional pasuk here. But in any event, the point is that Sefer is klaf. Klaf is dead. And live animal is not considered klaf. Additional pasuk is down as pasuk Yirmiyolam Evav Yurches. So that's coming down note 27. Okay, so the and my Sefer Davar Miucha She'eno Ochel, just like a Sefer is something which is not food. Klaf is not considered to be food. So the Avkoshu Eno Ochel. So to anything which is not food. That also food also would not consider to be valid to write a get. Like Pnei Moshe says, even though it's not here, it says get could probably cause him afalo eichlin. My time Rabbanon. So why Rabbanon say it's okay? So they say all we learn from Sefer is ma Sefer Miuchad Shu B'Tolush. It's severed from the ground. I've called over Shu B'Tolush. And so to anything which is severed from the ground, but it doesn't actually. That's all you learn from Sefer, not the substance, which should be klaf, would preclude something which is alive or something which is ochel, but they learn from it that it's something which is portable. Like any book is portable, and therefore it can be even on a davar shesh b'ruach chaim, even on ochlin. Okay, so what about what about a handle of a food? Now the Pnei Moshe has two pshatim here. The first pshat is when they're connected to the food. They can say like food and therefore can't write a get on them, or no, the yad of an oichel is not oichel. The stem, the handle is not oichel. But later on, he says, he's even talking about question if it's something which is once connected to food, what happens if it's severed from the food? Even then, can you write get it on or not? So it could be that it's going either way. This Yerushalmi and other Acharim take either side of that. Two different pshat in Pnei Moshe. Yeshuvim Meredot, that's what I'm here. Kosva Karen Atzvi. If you wrote the get on the horn of a deer, v'gadado, and then you chopped it off, v'chasmo, and then you signed it. You wrote it where it's connected. Then you chopped it off and you signed it. Nuslin, you gave it to a kosher. So it's because you chopped it off first and then signed it. Low. But if if you first signed it and then chopped it off, then no. So this goes well with the first pshat in Bnei Moshe, right? Because it says saying that if it's still mechubet to the food, which is the goat, it's no good. To the deer, it's no good. But if you sever from the deer, it is good. And it works out great. Second pshat in Bnei Moshe actually too, which is that you see that okay, nitlishu is fine, right? So in any event, So according to the first shot, we're saying that Smechuber Lochel is no good. Neat Lashu is okay. The question whether Mechuber is okay and Neat Lashu, and the answer is no, it has to be Tosh. According to the second shot, is Toshu okay? And the answer is yes, because see, Toshu is okay. So either according to either shot really works. Now, I think I put the period in the wrong place before, because now I'm looking at my Gemara, I see it put it differently. It says, let me go back in line. Chasma is good. Period. Okay. If you signed it and then you cut it off low, it's no good. The Rabbi Yaakov Shemai said not always is no good. Which Chasma Zachrusha Shakern, that's you wrote on the Zachrus Shakern, meaning the inner membrane of the horn, which is what's actually connected to the animal. That is a problem if you write when it's still mechuber to the animal. On the Chasma Artik, if you write on the outer, the sheath of the horn, Kiparashu. That's kosher even if you write it while it's still connected to the animal, because it's if it's separate from the animal. Because that's not directly connected to the animal. The zachrus, which is the inside, that's directly connected to the animal. The nartik, which is the outside, is not directly connected to the animal, and that's okay for kosher. Okay, that's fine. Rabbi Yonah asked the question, Avli Heksher Zroim Kain? What about in terms of Heksher Zroim? It's a pretty cute question here. The halacha is that in order for Zroim to become Mukshal Kabel Tuma, they have to become wet Ladas. Now, Ladas includes not just that the Zroim themselves become wet, Ladas, and deliberately. And of course, you don't have to wet themselves because Kiyuton, even though it happens passively. But if the water fell on something Tolush, Ladas, and then fell on the Zroim become Mukshal Kabel Tuma. If the water fell on something Mechuber Ladas, you had in mind that it's fall on something which is Mechuber, then fall on Zroim, it's not Mukshal Kabel Tuma. What's the status of an animal? Is status of an animal considered to be Tolush or Mechuber? Okay, so that's what Gemara says. What's the question? You had in mind that the water should fall on the animal, and then they fall from the animal on the food. So Taman Amra basically over there basically it's Sefer. Ma Sefer Muchad She'en Bo Ruach Chaim. Sefer has to be something which has no Ruach Chaim. Av Kol Davar She'en Bo Ruach Chaim. So to anything else which has no Ruach Chaim. Av Chacha Kain. Oh, here too, do I say, well, something which has Ruach Chaim has the status of Mechuber. Just like a mechuber is not okay for a get, so something which has ruach chaim is not okay for a get, and they also have the same status for extra tuma. That's not going to become. So you have in mind upon something which is ruach chaim, it's not going to be machshir afterwards. It's going to be makabel tuma. Oh, do we say shani d'chsiv b'chol mashkeh sheish l'seh b'chol kli yitma? And there's a ribu here. Any mashkeh sheish l'seh b'chol kli, any vessel, and any vessel includes an animal, because the animal, although it's still alive, its status is included in b'chol kli. It's like it says b'chol kli itma b'chol ribuyu v'afil bali chaim. So ask Gemara, me'ato afilu chishev sheyard lebar shtichin maros. If you're going to be marba balchai, it's considered to be like tolish. So include also, if you had in mind that water should fall into wells, into dugouts, or into caves, that's also machshir because of this rebirth of coal. Right? So as long as I guess maybe we would preclude stuff which is actually growing in the ground. If you had in mind that it should water your lawn, so then I could say that it's not that type of mechuber. It's not going to, if you had in mind the water your lawn, that you had in mind that it's going to be the water is going to remain separate. It's going to be get back filtered into the ground, and therefore that's not going to be machshir zorim. But if you're going to say that from Bakol you learned that if it falls on an animal and then it falls on the zorim, it should be machshir. So why not the cave, the dugout where you didn't have in mind it should filter back into the ground? You had in mind that it should be separate and pool there. So also let it be mashal kabel tuma. What's the difference? Shani quickly. So he says no. It says kli. And the Supreme Court says, "Shani shanocha siv kli damash miyuta mematim boris v'chemaros lo damer klalekli shenim tlushin." Has to be kli, at least in the sense that it's severed from the ground, and as opposed to boris v'chemaros, which are connected to the ground, that we will not blow it out from the bekol of Asher Yosef Bechokli. But it's the bottom line is that by lo ifshita, it doesn't resolve what the status of Takabi according to Rabbi Yosef clearly. Halacha ches. You have a caravan which camped in a bika in an open area. And you surround it with the tools used for the animals. Here's a nice picture in the Perush Chai on the Bavli, even no picture in the Yerushalmi here, right? You're surrounded, your shayar is chansa bebika, and you surrounded yourself with the animal, with the various different types of loads of the animal, okay? The metallic mitzvah can carry within that enclosure, as long as that it constitutes a somehow, together with the kalim and the sticks, the staves that you have there in the ground, wall which 10 feet high. V'loya Pitza says Binyan shouldn't be more open structure than there is built up, more open area than there's built up structure. Kovet says as Amos Muteres, and he appears which is up to 10 Amos is Mutim, Nation could Pesa because it's like an opening. But Yosim Mekan also, if it's more than that, it's also. Okay, it says Rav Ada Shem Rabbi Chazdaya said, Lemi Nitzucha, according to who did you need to tell me the chiddush of the shayora, that this is okay? The Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, can I tell me it's called Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yossi Omer, Kol mechitza she'eno shel seshi v'shel erev. He says normally a mechitza which is not shesi v'erev, it's not crisscross, like shesi v'erev. Here we have that's shesi v'erev, right? It goes both directions, horizontal and vertical. That he says, here he concedes the point that by a shayora they're a meko. With a caravan in the middle of the desert, middle of the bika, they were a meko. V'tani kain, and we also learned in a brisa that b'chol osim mechitzas you can make a wall with anything. Afilu ukfin are saddles. Afilu avitim. Avitim are the kind of like blankets. He says here in the Kormeda, karsha tachas ukav. It's the pillow you put under the saddle. But some here he has more of them. The Perishchai, they look more like blankets. These things, gimel over there. Not sure. I don't see any different than the. Okay, but I guess whatever they are. I feel money even with the camels themselves, as you saw in the picture there. But shloyev and ukaf, as long as there isn't between each saddle the width of the saddle, which would be where there would be which would make it at least oime kipparot and possibly maybe means that's going to be more of a gap. It's going to be parts move oime. Yes, it should have been ben uvat should have been okav lo ben avid lo avid ben gam lo gamo. Uvat loya omik connected omik parts connected parts. So here you have a picture of Reb Chaim. You should not have. Where's it over here? Over here. You should not have parts connected parts. I'm sorry, not this one. Parts connected parts and omik connected omik. But over here, omik connected parts. Right. Okay. Oimik parts connected oimid. So in other words, it shouldn't be like foolish, which would be a problem. The pirza. So therefore, you should have You don't have to rely on Oimer Merubah parts or Oimer Kippur parts, according to that opinion, but it should make sure that there shouldn't be openings opposite each other. So you come out like this, and lean in kilaim. So it's kind of a little about left field. Actually, I'm not sure we should do this because really next page, right? So let's leave the Nimtzei so Omer for tomorrow. Okay, that's enough for today.